this video we're going to be unboxing and showing you the Canon Pro 2100, which is a 24-inch Aquos printer from Canon. It has two rolls on it where you can buy this as a separate accessory, which is a roll take-up and an extra roll. This is the 24-inch printer. There's the 2100, which is 24 inches. There's the 4100, which is 44 inches, and then they have the 6100, which is 64. All of them take the same ink set. There's also the Canon Pro 1000, which we've been using for a while now, which is a small 17-inch printer, sheet-fed printer. It also uses the same ink set as this one, so you've got consistency across all of the Canon line of Aquos printers. We are just loving this printer, and I have to say that after a week of using it, it's been just fantastic, and we're absolutely loving it. We're finding that the colors are very similar to what we're used to with other printers, if not almost exact, and we're looking forward to moving towards Canon in our printing. Here you can see that we open the printer right here to get to the inside of it. If you're going to put sheets in it, the sheets are fed in right here. I can show you that in a bit. And the rolls, there's one roll under here. I'm going to open it up. And there's a second roll right there, so you can run two rolls at the same time, which is super advantageous. Having these two rolls is absolutely amazing. We've been using this for a week now, and they switch automatically. You don't have to do anything. You load them both, you leave them there. When you use one roll, this roll will back the paper out just a little bit, and the other roll will feed the paper in. So we're able to, for printing, for proofing for example, we're able to have a matte roll here and a semi-matte roll, which is what we use for proofing. And then when we go to production, it's real easy to remove one of these rolls and use one roll as production printing and the other one for proofing. Or you can use them any way you want. But the fact that you've got two rolls here is absolutely amazing. If you're not using this for a second roll, you can also use it for a take-up reel, which is kind of nice. Because if you ever do panorama printing, I'm sure anybody that's done panorama printing on large format printers has had to deal with a very, very, very long print coming out of the printer and being all over the floor, and somehow you have to manage that. So the take-up reel can be very advantageous if you're doing a very long print, or if you're doing a whole series of print and you just want to let it run and cut them later. The way that they're loaded as well is far easier than anything we've been used to. The ink cartridges are here. They take 160 milliliter cartridges, which come with the machine, and then for production, we're using these, which are 350 milliliters, but you can also put 700 milliliter ink cartridges in it as well. Something interesting to note about the ink cartridges is the ink cartridge has the exit facing down, which makes it a lot easier to use all of the ink. On the Canon printer, the head is considered a consumable, which means that when you need a new head, you don't have to call out a technician to replace the head. It doesn't require a service call. The head is inserted. The head, you can see just the carriage comes out, and you crank it open, and you take this head and you clip it in, you close it back up, and you have a new head in your printer, and you don't have to, once again, you don't have to call a technician. So maintenance on the Canon Pro 2100 is easy. Access to the head is easy. Far less likely to require a technician than you are with other printers. And that's that part of it. Now, loading the rolls, we're going to show you how to load a roll here. So we're going to put this back in here to show you how you actually load a roll of paper. This is how you load a roll of paper. Now, you can see that there's this whole line of things here, and what these are paper guides. And the way that you load the paper is you load it in like this, and you can roll it backwards just a little bit, and then it's fed like that. So you don't need to touch the paper, you don't need to handle the paper like you do with other printers. Far less likely to get fingerprints on the paper, to have other problems associated with touching the paper. Okay, so here I say load the paper. It instructs me to lock that, which I have. Now it sees that the paper has just started to go into the feed slot, and we start feeding, and it's going to continue feeding the paper on its own, and that's it. We're actually using Epson Semi-Matte 260, but that's the paper type that we're going to use for this paper. If you're used to other printers, like Epson for example, the one learning curve that you're going to have is that there are different paper types in this than you're used to. So you have to learn to match up those paper types with whatever paper you're using. It's rather a simple task, but if you're not used to that, if you're used to different paper types, then you're going to have to get used to new paper types in Canon, but they function in exactly the same way. So that's really not an issue. So now that we've seen how you load the rolls and how those function, you've got a roll here and a roll there, I'm going to load a sheet. And here's something I think is really exciting about the Canon Pro 2100 as well. Not only do you have two rolls in here at one time, but if you decide that you want to use a sheet, you don't have to unload those rolls. So you can be running rolls and sheets together without the need to constantly unload these rolls and go through the settings on the LCD panel to load a new roll, etc. So to load a sheet of paper, what I'm going to do here is go here on the LCD panel. You can see that there, right there, it says sheet. You've got two rolls loaded, and I'm going to select sheet here, and it's going to walk me through loading the paper. You can see that it took the roll that was there and backed it out of the way. It didn't unload it, so you don't have to reload it. It just backed it out of the way so that I can now load a sheet. It asks me to open this, wants me to release this bar right here, which I did. Then what you do is you take this paper, and right here you can see that there's a line where you need to line up the paper, and there's a red line back here where you need to line up the paper, and you set that like that, lock this down, close the front, and now you're ready to use a sheet, and you've got sheet fed, two rolls at the same time, none of them in the way of each other. So in terms of productivity and speed in printing, this machine is just revolutionary for us. It's absolutely fantastic. We can be loading sheets and using both rolls all day long. And in a production environment like we have here, we do that all day long. We're changing papers all day long. We're using different papers, sheets and rolls and things for different clients. I could be running a job on a roll here, and a client comes in to look at proofs, wants a change to a proof. We can load this 11 by 14 or 11 by 17 paper or whatever, and run that proof without really messing with the rolls that are on there at all. And that really is a huge time saver. It's just amazing. It's for us, it's fantastic. So here I'm going to select the paper type again. We're going to go to Fine Art Papers. This is, I happen to know that this is a heavyweight fine art paper, and it's finishing loading the paper, and we're ready to run a print on this sheet without touching those rolls at all. So the functioning of this printer is absolutely fantastic. It has just 100% increased our productivity here in the office, and it's a dream to work with. We're finding that it handles papers very well. It handles heavy papers well. It handles curly papers. So one of the first things that we did when we plugged in this printer, of course, was tried some test prints, and I wanted to see if I could break the machine because I'm very good at breaking machines. So I looked for the curliest paper I could find. And I think one of the curliest papers that I was able to find was an old Hahnemuhle Photo Gloss Baryta, which happens to be, it's a beautiful paper, but it's a very curly paper. Not only that, But I found a 24-inch roll in our inventory that was 10 years old. This is what it comes out like. It's curly, it's stiff. This hasn't been de-rolled yet. You can de-roll this and it'll come out flat. But I wanted a roll of very curly paper because one of the problems we have on the Epson machines is head strikes. Lots of head strikes with curly paper. And so I wanted to see if we could purposefully introduce head strikes on the Canon. And guess what? Not a one. No head strikes at all. Just fantastic. We ran several prints like this. We've done a couple of different types of paper now. And even with curly papers, we're not getting head strikes at all. We're not having any problem with the machine. It's handling just beautifully. And the color on it is fantastic. Now that we've talked a little bit about the mechanics of the printer, and that's certainly important, one of the most important things, if not the most important thing, about a printer is its color, its ability to produce great color. And one of the criticisms of Canon's 2100, 4100, 6100 series has been that they removed the green ink from the printer, and that was certainly a concern of ours. But we've had the Canon Pro 1000 now for about 2 years, and we use it for proofing against the Epson 9570s, and we just have never had a problem. And when we look at production prints in really bright greens, we're getting brilliant greens out of the Canon. You can see this right here. Here's a painting that we've scanned, and we're looking at the greens right here in the foliage behind this dog, and the greens are really bright lime green, and they're just beautiful. You absolutely cannot tell them apart. And of course, in testing any new thing, once again, our goal is to try and break it, see where it fails, see where it falls apart. And we thought that one of the best things that we could use was this reproduction of a painting right here by Ten Hun, Peter Robinson. And it is a painting where he did the entire thing in brilliant greens, acrylic greens. And that right there is off of an Epson P-9570. And then right there is off of the Canon Pro 2100, and they are virtually indistinguishable. Same thing is true of all of our other prints. We've been trying prints, and the greens here are brilliant, the yellows, the reds, everything. Even in those bright green areas, we're just seeing great color. The Canon Pro 2100 is absolutely giving us just brilliant greens and brilliant colors. We've got a great gamut here. We're absolutely not seeing any reason not to move to Canon for our production prints, which is what we're going to be doing here. And we are just super excited about the Canon Pro 2100. It's performing well for us. The color is fantastic. The mechanics of the machine are great. It's easy to use. It's saving us a ton of time. And again, I can't even tell you how fantastic it is to have 2 rolls on a machine like that. It's all we've been saying in the office now for a week. Hey, there's 2 rolls on that. It is. Okay. Now that we've talked a little bit about the mechanics of the machine and the color and how much we like working with it, I want to talk just a little bit about the software side of it, because in order to use your Canon printer, of course, you'll need to have drivers and software. So the first thing that you'll do after purchasing a machine will be to come to the Canon website and define your OS and your OS version, and you will get a list of downloadable software and a couple of things that you'll definitely want. And there are a whole slew of things here that you can get. Utility toolbox, media configuration tool, etc. But you're definitely going to want the media configuration tool. You'll want the CUPS printer driver, and then of course you're going to want professional print and layout. First, let's start with the media configuration tool. This is a tool that allows you to download different medias to your printer and have those media types display on the printer if you'd like to. I've already pre-done a few of these. I don't think we need to go in a deep dive here because that's not really what this video is about, but I want to explain it a little bit. Here you can see I've already downloaded Moab, Entrada, Bright White, and some Hahnemuhle papers, but you can put the paper on your printer. Paper type that you choose on your printer really describes to the printer how the paper behaves, how much it weighs, how thick it is, what the feed is like on it, etc., etc. So if we look, for example, on the information on this one, you can see that what the core size is, what the outer core is. In this case, it does have a profile associated with it, but you'll still need to use that in Photoshop, and other basically physical attributes of the paper. So here is Canon software that comes with the printer, and it is called Professional Print and Layout. And you can see right here one of the rolls is being displayed as it would come out of the printer, so it's pretty easy to lay things out. You can use this as a standalone application in order to print, or you can access it from within Photoshop. As you can see, it's pretty easy use here. It's pretty easy to turn your images around, resize them, crop them, I know, whatever needs to be done, and you can lay out more than one image on a page. You can see that this is the page we've got here on the roll, and that is how you print. There are lots of different settings within here that you can use to control the printer, including selecting the ICC profile, etc. I have to say that this is a pretty decent program. It's a pretty good printer rip. It does a decent job, and for a lot of people this is going to be sufficient for what you need. You can see the images that are being laid out down here, etc. It's a good program. This works out quite well, and I'm sure that for a lot of people this is just going to be great. And on the color settings here, you can play with the curves. You can do, different settings. You can save curves. You can save your color settings if you want to apply special color settings within the printer itself. You can. But again, the program here is easy to use. You've got a roll. You select the roll size, then you select your print size, match it to the roll, and you've got a pretty easy to use layout program here. You do have to make sure that, so for example, if I lay this out like this, let's make this one a little bit bigger, then it is going to print exactly like you see it here. But nonetheless, this white space here will be shown. So it's a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. A print program that allows you to lay out multiple images on a sheet. It's got some nice functionality as well. At any rate, this is a pretty decent layout program for printing. It's certainly a lot simpler than just printing directly from Photoshop using the print commands there. This is also available from within Photoshop. So let's open up a file in Photoshop here. We'll open up this color chart and pretend we're going to print it. If I want to print it, then I can go down here to Automate. And here you will find the Canon Professional Print and Layout program. And there it is. So it can be accessed from within Photoshop or as a standalone application. Myself, I happen to use ImagePrint, and ImagePrint is a recommended software on the Canon website. If you go to the Canon website and look at the Canon Pro 4100, which is the 44-inch model of this printer, and go all the way down to the bottom of this page and look at recommended accessories, you'll see that Color Byte ImagePrint Red is a recommended accessory, and it is what I use for printing, and I happen to find this much easier than trying to print from the Canon software. This is very well integrated with the printer. It can also download paper types from the printer and integrates well with it. And ImagePrint has a whole slew of
profiles that it makes for different paper types. So you can go in here and select a manufacturer and find the paper type and download and apply that profile. You can also use third-party profiles, or you can make your own profiles. I certainly do a combination of all of those things, so it makes working with your printer a lot easier. So I highly recommend Image Print Red. This is Image Print Black, and the only real difference is that I can use this from multiple computers, whereas Red is from one computer. But the other thing I like about Image Print here is it's got this feature that is called Print Inked Area. And with Print Inked Area right there, what that does is when Image Print stops seeing ink, it will stop and cut the paper. So even though I've got 30 inches selected here, if this is what I'm going to print, if I hit the print button, then it's just going to stop right here and cut the paper. Makes managing printing much easier, and especially with this printer, we've got 2 rolls. I can go to roll 1 or roll 2 layout jobs on 2 different kinds of paper. It's easiest for me to use presets when I do this. I can create and load presets here. Okay, so the way this works is once you have set your paper up the way that you want it, you can save this as a preset. I'm going to save this one as semi-matte, 16-inch, and I've saved that. Now, the next time I switch and I go back to this roll, if I've changed papers, I can just go select that preset, and that makes it switching between rolls and sheets on the printer much easier. I happen to really like Image Print Red, and if you do have a Canon printer and you want to use it, you can simply go over to the ColorByte software website here, and there you'll be able to download and try Image Print Red and Black, and if you like it, you can email them and they will sell you a copy. That's kind of it. I really don't want to go into a deep dive in the software. I just do want to say that if you don't want to get this, that the Canon software that's available with the machine, Professional Print and Layout, is quite good. It's quite flexible and easy to use. You can select and use different profiles and different paper settings, and if you want something a little more muchier and a little bit easier to use and flexible, then I would highly recommend the Image Print Red or Black to go along with your printer. And that, I think, is about it. I think we really like this printer, and we're looking forward to getting a couple of more.
And again, in conclusion, we decided to get a Canon Pro 2100 to add to our mix of printers, and we are very glad we did so. The color is good. It's almost a match to our current printers. We're very happy with that. We're really happy with how the printer runs and how it integrates with our current workflow. We really like the fact that it's got 2 rolls here and that you can go back and forth. I think I beat that to death in the video, but it's a huge help for us. Mechanically, the printer runs very great, and we don't have the kind of problems that we've had recently with our other printers. We are not getting head abrasions with the paper. We're not having problems with heavy art papers. They're working just great. I really like the way that the Canon handles papers, in that it's got a sensor inside and it detects the weight and the type of paper as best it can, and the amount remaining on the rolls. So when it gets towards the end of the roll, even if you're not using the barcode system to tell it how much paper is on the roll when you first load it, it takes a pretty good guess. And at the end of a roll, it starts to tell you, I'm out of paper. You run a print job, and it'll make you press a warning on the LCD saying, yes, I think I have enough paper. That's very convenient. There are just a lot of conveniences about the printer and how it works. It seems to be very smooth. It works great with ColorByte's Image Print, which this is a software that we currently use for our printing rip. The software that comes with it, the Canon Professional Print and Layout, is also very good, and it makes the machine very easy to use. We'd like to thank Canon for making a great printer, and we'd like to thank Shades of Paper for selling us this printer, and of course for all the paper that we buy through Shades of Paper as well. If you're thinking about getting a new printer or replacing an old one and you're not sure what kind to get, we can assure you that the Canon line of printers is a fine choice. And even for a business like this, where we are very demanding of our color, we can assure you that it gives excellent results and you won't be disappointed. Hope this has been helpful, and we certainly look forward to doing some more work with this and probably some more videos as we dig into it and have some specialty videos. Thanks very much for watching.